Hi, I'm Polly Jean Harrison, and we are here at Money 2020 in Las Vegas. Why don't you introduce yourself for us,
Thanks,
please?
Polly. I'm Anil Sawrup. I'm head of sales for Moneycorp North America.
How are you finding everything so far?
It's been absolutely fantastic over here. The attendance, the energy has been great.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So glad to hear it. And so Moneycorp entered the digital asset exchange market as an FX liquidity provider back in March. How's the business going so far since then?
It's been going fantastic. Obviously, the market's changed slightly in the last 6 months or so, but the enthusiasm, the interest that we've seen from numerous partners and exchanges, especially in North America, has been quite exciting right now.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned the market. Have you seen any of the effects of sort of, this crypto winter that we're in at the moment?
Absolutely. So the volumes are not where it used to be, and I think we've seen it. Have you seen the Bitcoin price has fallen over 50% over the last several months, and obviously the lack of investment going on from a retail side has been a trickle-down effect. So definitely we've seen the softness in the volume, but as we kind of go through this, I think we're seeing renewed interest from new investors as well at the same time.
Right, and I guess with that new renewed interest, are you thinking about expanding any further into the digital asset space?
Yes, we're definitely thinking about it. We're thinking about how can we add more payment capability among the crypto or digital asset space, how we continue to leverage our rails. As we deal with more partners, they're looking at more solutions actually in the fiat world, because ultimately as the individual or the investor cashes out their crypto, they need the money back in a fiat purpose.
Right, absolutely. And so I'd love to talk to you just about the fintech industry in general. What do you think is happening sort of right now, and where do you think everything is going in the next year or so?
Really good question. So obviously in the first half of this year, I think from my understanding with KPMG, we've seen a significant decline in investment in the fintech market in Canada. But I think in general, globally, the amount of investment in the fintech space has dropped over the first half of this year. But to stay in mind, we still seen quite a bit of deals being done or in the fintech space. I believe there's been over $110 billion worth of deals for the first half of this year, down from last year. I think the US has probably felt the biggest pinch because the valuation has come down further. We've seen probably a 30% decline in just in the US M&A deals alone in the fintech. However, during this time, I think people are making those prudent financial decisions to set up their business for future success.
Right, absolutely. I guess one of the main things we're kind of hearing a lot about at the moment is cloud technology. What do you think about sort of cloud? Do you think we're going to be leaning more into it as we come over the next year? Or have we still sort of yet to see the full power of cloud be unleashed?
Yeah, I think as technology continues to evolve, I think cloud technology in general will become an industry standard. I think you will see more of, say, the Fortune 500 companies around the world where a large part of the EBITDA will be based on their cloud technology. And as the infrastructure continues to improve, the increase in their EBITDA over the next several years.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess sort of leaning sort of into more the idea of cross-border business activities, we've seen a huge need of faster cross-border payments, right? And I feel like the term faster is just everywhere. It's all about how being fast. Do you think that fintech will continue to evolve to meet this need for a growing payments industry, particularly in the faster space?
Well, if you look at the data alone from the last 2 years, in 2019 to 2022, I believe in the international cross-border payment space, I think we've seen an increase of 10 trillion transactions in the last 3 years alone. And to your point, everybody wants it immediate, they want it fast. And I think as we continue to break barriers from a business perspective, more and more we're seeing, look at the show here at Money 2020, the increase in the demand for cross-border activity.
Absolutely. And then I guess sort of casting our eye very slightly into the future, what do you think is going to be sort of the next big tech push when we think about payments?
The next big tech push probably within the fintech space, we'll probably see more of, as payments become more automated, probably the uses of blockchain and ledger technology. And I think we're seeing that definition right now, right in front of our eyes. I think as we go through this crypto winter, we're seeing more of those organizations that have established technology and how people can use those technology and those rails. So I think as we continue to evolve in the blockchain and ledger space, I think you'll see more utilization in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just finally, I feel like a lot, just in the general world, we see a lot of news about recessions, the Great Resignation, and the issues surrounding that. And yet, obviously, we're here at the event and it's packed upstairs. There are people everywhere. What do you think makes fintech so appealing to the public right now?
Definitely, I've been to many shows and conferences. This is probably the biggest Money 2020 show I've been in the last 7 years. But keep in mind, I think the two things we need to consider. Previous to this, the last 2 years, obviously we were in a pandemic. A lot of people couldn't come from an international travel perspective. The suggestion or what the feeling is that people had already budgeted Money 2020 in the last couple of years, so they had that additional marketing spend. So I think this year you're seeing all that come here with all the events and all the booths and all the attendees. We probably will see a slight drawback next year as we're seeing this sort of storm that's brewing right now. But I think these people that had the money budgeted, that's what we're seeing in the outcome of the last couple of days.
And do you think fintech is still a very viable industry to be in?
Absolutely. I think you'll have, as I travel around the world, it's amazing to see the number of education programs around the fintech space, more programs around blockchain development or fintech executive programs. So I think we're just, if we look at them, I use the baseball analogy, in a 9-inning game, I think we're in the top of the second in terms of what's going to happen in the fintech space.
Amazing. Looking forward to seeing how that plays out. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me.